It is time, people. John Avenger once again. Look at my t-shirt. Avengers Assemble. The Age of Ultron t-shirt that I got at GameStop for 15 bucks or around 16 bucks. What is up? And now, this is it, people. This is it. Now we're going to talk about my favorite movie of the year so far, and I doubt anything's ever going to beat it, and that is Avengers Age of Ultron, the sequel to the popular 2012 film that made the most money that year, and I still love to this day. And wow, I'm gonna, when this movie comes out on Blu-ray, I definitely want to get my hands on it. So, what did I think of Avengers Age of Ultron? Yeah, I'm gonna show this poster book while I do the review. So this is gonna be a long one, so bear with me. I saw this movie the day it came out, May 1st, 2015. Packed house. There were tons of people in the theater. A lot of anticipation. Some people had compared this to Days of Future Past, but I think that it's way better. And, this movie has gotten, a lot of praise, but also there's a lot of people that were mixed, saying it was overhyped, or saying the movie was, not as good as the first one, or saying the movie sucked. I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. This movie was freaking amazing, just like the first one, and I got the same feel like the first one. The theater I went to wasn't as good as it when I saw the first one, but I still loved every second of it, and I'm going to explain why. The way the movie started, just like in the first one, my heart was pounding, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to be epic. First 10 minutes, you see the Avengers in full frame. You don't have to wait an hour this time. They assemble and go look for the, Loki's staff, and you see Von Strucker. Yeah, he's a villain that is underused, but I think in the extended cut, they're probably going to give him more screen time. They probably had a lot of things cut out. That's one nitpick I have with the film, but I'll talk about that later. You see the Avengers, they're kicking ass in the snow, and they're just running down the mountain. You see Hulk and Hawkeye and Thor and Cap and Iron Man. This is the way every film should start. You reintroduce the characters from the first film. You give them an awesome action scene. You get a lot of, visual spectacle, and then you keep going from there. You don't stop the movie. They didn't have to show Ultron in the first 5 minutes because I can wait for things. Now, a big complaint before this movie came out: not enough Iron Man in Iron Man 3. Well, in this movie, you see a lot of Iron Man. He basically is flying all over the place. You see him sliding and just blasting things, and it's awesome to see Tony Stark back in this movie. Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. once again, hilarious, has a ton of screen time. He's the one that creates Ultron with Dr. Banner, talking about, if we could harvest, this energy to make artificial intelligence, we could create a being. And of course, what that leads to. Anyway, just phenomenal opening. I think it's one of the best openings in a sequel that I've seen in a long time. And, just the way it starts, you get Hulk, going crazy. You didn't have to wait as long as in the first film to see him. Scarlett Johansson, who I love, I absolutely adore in this movie. The way she calms the Hulk down, it didn't bother me. She's does this kind of pose and, tries to calm him down. And it's great. And it just, it got me hyped for the rest of the film. I don't think this film slows down. The new additions, I think, are great. The Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver didn't bother me in this movie. A lot of people were turned off by them. But hey, then the sequel always has to have new characters. Does this film feel overstuffed, as I've heard a lot of critics and people say on YouTube? Yes, but it's the kind of overstuffed that just I love. It's not like there's so much happening in the movie, I don't know what's going on. There's a lot of stuff in it, but it fits. And with the extended cut where they add more things into it, is going to make it even more satisfying. Hawkeye, he gets let me get to him. Hawkeye gets a lot of screen time in this movie. People complained in the first film that he didn't get enough development. They didn't do anything. Well, by the way, this review will contain a ton of spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, what are you waiting for? Go see it in the theater while it's still there. Go, download it, watch it online. Just do whatever you can, or just wait for the HD digital download that comes out in August. But see the film before you see this review, because if you haven't already, because this movie has made a ton of money and it's going to make more when it's on Blu-ray. But Hawkeye, Jeremy Renner does a great job. They go deeper into his character. He has more to do. They show his family in the farm, later in the film. You got Linda Cardinelli who plays his wife, and she's pregnant. Didn't bother me. Pregnant women I think are beautiful, and then on the screen, Linda Cardinelli as a pregnant chick, lovely. The kids didn't bother me. They have just a minimal screen time. It shows that Hawkeye is very human. That he talks to her saying, "I don't know if I should do this. I can always quit and we could live a normal life." And she's like, "I wouldn't believe in you if you weren't good enough to be an Avenger." And I like that. The family moments in the movie don't bother me. It's development that works and it's not rushed. And Hawkeye, I love Jeremy Renner as this character. He doesn't wear the mask, so what? Punisher didn't have the skull in the '80s film, and he was still a badass. It's who as long as the character is represented in full by the actor and the writers and the director, everything is fine as long as it's done well, and it's done well here. Hawkeye just is great. Yeah, they kind of departed from him liking Black Widow, but they still have that spark. I liked their rapport in the first film. Renner just is shines in this movie, especially at the end when he's persuading Scarlet Witch to fight. If you go out there, you're an Avenger. If not, I would understand. I'll come back for you. I promise. It's really, really good stuff. I don't know I don't know which version of the sequel they saw, but anyway, what I'll do is I'll go to each character, what I liked about them, what I didn't. There's just a few things. So, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm just kissing this movie's ass because my name is John Avenger. No. I'm going to say some of the cons too, which is not very much. The Hulk. Yeah, in the first movie, you got to see him twice. This one, you see him a lot more. The Hulkbuster scene is the absolute greatest scene in the entire movie. Should have been at the end. Maybe that's up for argument, but I thought Hulk he smashed a lot in this movie, and it was great to see him. What he does to Ultron when he punches him at the end was freaking phenomenal. Just Ultron's like talking, and Hulk's like, boom, and I'm like, hell yeah, he sucker punched you right in the face. And I don't mind Mark Ruffalo as this character. I know a lot of people had a problem with him in the first film. I think he fits as the Hulk. He reminds me of Bill Bixby from the show. I don't think he's forced in there. He's not a block of wood like Eric Bana was in the Hulk Ang Lee version, which I thought was boring as hell. Hulk should be smashing and being angry. That's what his character is, and they nailed it. Whedon deserves a hand for that. His romance with Black Widow did not bother me. The Beauty and the Beast story angle was different. It wasn't the cliche, a human and a human. It was the Beast with a human. And by the way, these dumbasses that said, Joss Whedon is sexist because he made Black Widow weak and they had to talk about her not having kids and that made her seem shallow. I'm like, Whedon put enough in the movie to make us care about Black Widow. Because if we don't care about any of these characters, the movie fails. And I care about every single one of them. Their rapport, the little spark, and she says, "I adore you." I love that scene when she kissed him. It didn't feel completely forced. I've sat through Twilight, so I know a forced romance when I see one. But Hulk is awesome in the movie, and I don't think he could have had a better, return, especially after the first movie. Cap. After Winter Soldier, I said, wow, Chris Evans has embodied this character completely. From his look, from his personality, the way he fights, just everything about Captain America is in this performance by Chris Evans. He doesn't want the characters cursing. He's like language, and I love that. That's just funny. They kept the light humor of the first film. People are like, it's a comedy hour. Well, you can't make this movie into the Dark Knight. That's not what it is. The Avengers are not the Dark Knight. They're different. They're lighter. They have to be jokey when they need to, and they can be serious when they need to. Cap is definitely the leader. He's still front and center. He flips a freaking motorcycle in one scene. It's awesome. I loved it. It was just great. He with the mask or without the mask, he still kicks ass. One weird thing I forgot to mention is that, in all of these movies, in both Avengers movies, Cap always has to take his mask off or someone takes his mask off for him. In the first film, it was the Chitauri. They pulled off his mask. Here, he just fights without a mask at the end. But, hey, Chris is still a leader. He still gives the orders, and he's still badass. And Winter Soldier was definitely a step up from the first film. And when you saw him here, it's great. I love this costume. It looks awesome. Some people had a problem with the costume in the first film, but I don't see a problem here. It's definitely a better costume. And I love seeing Captain America. He is the leader of the Avengers, and he proves it. And I'm not worried about Civil War. Oh, they're going to kill him off. No, they're not. Trust me, they're not. Comics and the adaptation are always different in every way. And Cap still kicks ass in this movie, and I loved him. Chris Evans, you're the man. You deserve this role, and I'm glad this role helped your career. Now, the one that a lot of people have had some issues with. Yeah, Black Widow, the gorgeous Scarlett Johansson, who I absolutely adore. I know she has a child now. I know she's married now, but I still love her, and I always will. I'll just keep on loving her, just like the song says. Anyway, Black Widow still kicks ass. The fact that that Scarlett did this movie while pregnant says a lot of her dedication to this role. The motorcycle scene was cool. I didn't notice the masks that were covering her face, like the CGI. I didn't notice it. It didn't bother me in this movie. I think the CG is mind-blowing. Just, Scarlett fights a lot. Those sticks that she has and her new costume with the lights, very sexy, not tasteless like in other movies. Like, oh, let's just show eye candy. No, she's eye candy that just, that works because she's a badass. And when they show close-up of her face, I was in heaven. I was like, oh my God, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen on screen. And I have no issues with her. Her character is interesting. Does she deserve her own movie? Yes. They don't do one? Hey, at least I got to see her in a ton of awesome movies. Scarlett just, she owns this role. I don't think anybody else can even touch Natasha Romanoff. Just the fact that she's tough, but she's, mysterious at times. And when she said, oh, I can never have kids because they took something away from me. But her backstory was interesting. This flashback where when Scarlet Witch is showing a bunch of, imagery of the Avengers, she sees a image of herself when she was, a ballerina. And then you see Julie Delpy as a Russian, trying to push her. It's interesting. It's something from a female perspective that I can get by. And it didn't bother me. I don't know why people oh, it's sexist, it's sexist, it's sexist, it's sexist. At least we didn't put two strong women in the movie. It could have had all guys, and then you would hear more complaints. But, hey, this is my review. I'm going to talk about anybody I want in this movie. Scarlett is still amazing. Love her pregnant, love her thin, doesn't matter. She owns this character. I'm glad it wasn't Emily Blunt, because my issues with her. That she kicks ass in the beginning of the film and at the end. And even the scene where they're trying to pull Thor's hammer when they're in the headquarters, and she's like, nope, I'm out, because of course Scarlett was pregnant at the time. She couldn't do any strenuous activities. But I'm glad she was back. I'm glad they didn't kill her off. I was kind of worried. I was like, oh God, they're gonna kill her off, but they didn't. You know who they kill off, and I'll get to that later. Scarlett, just amazing performance. I loved her in the movie, and I look forward to more performances from her. Okay. Now, this is a character that they did shoehorn in at the end. Didn't bother me, though, because I thought the way he looked and Bettany's performance was great. And just the fact that we got this character in an Avengers movie was great. And I think they're going to have more scenes with him probably in the extended cut. Vision. Awesome looking creation. I thought the makeup looked fantastic on the Vision when he had his cape and the way he had this calm voice, and he's really powerful. There's a scene that he takes Thor's hammer and uses it on Ultron. And he's like, here, you can have it back. And that was awesome. And that speech he makes about he's not Ultron and he's not Jarvis, but he's the one that can destroy Ultron because he's an android. And just the Vision, he's an interesting character to me. He's a very mysterious character. You don't know what he's going to do next. Just his powers are unparalleled. The fact that he kills Ultron at the end it didn't bother me. At least an Avenger did it. It wasn't, S.H.I.E.L.D. agent number 5. He proved himself, and the fact that he's going to be in more films is fine with me. Vision I loved the scenes at the end when he's just blasting people at the end when they're in the circle. Awesome, awesome stuff. And, Vision deserved his spot. in this movie, and I just loved every scene that he was in at the end. Shoehorned in, yeah, but for a purpose. It wasn't like the Dinobots at the end of Transformers 4. This, to me, this is the real Transformers movie. And now we get to the one that I thought gave the best performance in this movie. I loved every second he was on screen. The way his mouth moved, it would look weird, but it wasn't bad CGI. It was really good motion capture. The voice actor did a great job, and that is Ultron himself. James Spader's voice haunted me. Loved every second he was on screen. He has a lot of great dialogue. He's like, ask Noah. And they gave him a sense of humor. He's not a villain that's just, a mustache twirling, douchebag like we've seen in so many other films. Ultron looked amazing. He can beat the crap out of Megatron any day. Yes, in the beginning when they create Ultron, it's kind of like blink and you miss it, but it was worth it because we got to see Ultron soon. We didn't have to wait an hour and 30 minutes to see him. Spader's voice is haunting. He's like, you're all puppets tangled in strings. Strings. I just love that. It's just so freaking, it's like mind-blowing, the voice that he gave him. I love the screen time that he had. The fights that he has with the Avengers, you can see what's going on. It's not shaking the camera like this. Like, where's Ultron? I can't see him. I can't see him. I can't see him. No. You can see him, and you can see what he does. He can fly. He can blast freaking shit. He's freaking strong. Just the way that he can switch from body to body, that was a cool concept. When he destroys Jarvis in the middle of the film, it didn't bother me because I was like, yeah, he's a computer program that can take over things, anything around him. And just, his voice alone. There's a scene where Ultron is talking to Jarvis. It's like a blue light and an orange or red light. They're just talking, and that scene was more intriguing than a lot of films I've seen before. And, when he takes him over, it's like, wow, what's going to happen next? That's what a sequel should do. A sequel should make you want to see what's going to happen next and get more into the story and the characters. I love this story. As many things that have happened in this movie, I loved every second of it. Just the fact that it flowed fast and the film was long, did not feel a single thing. When this movie was over, I felt like a person on a sugar high. Just like, I was like, oh my God, I just saw that. That was freaking amazing. I felt like I was on the biggest high of my life. And just the adrenaline through my veins was just unparalleled. I don't have a picture of the twins, so I'll just talk about them. Aaron Taylor Johnson, this is his best role. I did not care for Kick-Ass. I thought the movie was overrated. It was boring. It wasn't that funny and just kind of mean-spirited. But here he worked. I don't have any pictures of him. But, the first time you see him and he's running and he like flies past, he runs past Hawkeye and he's like, you did not see that coming? And I didn't mind the accent. The Slovakian or Sokovian, whatever the accents that they use, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, didn't bother me at all. I've heard worse accents in other movies. At least they don't speak Russian in the film. Anyway, the two of them work well together. I mean, they played a husband and wife in Godzilla, but here they had more to do. I love seeing Quicksilver going, and there's a scene at the end where he's like, get the hell out, come on, you gotta evacuate. And then they don't listen to him. So he comes back and he has this a freaking AK-47, I believe is a machine gun. And he's like, move your asses, and then they leave. And that was funny. That was a cool scene. And also the fact that he sacrifices himself, it shows that the movie is ballsy enough to get rid of a character. Of course, we're going to see Quicksilver in X-Men Apocalypse, even though it's a different Quicksilver, but the character will live. But the fact that they killed him off here, it worked for me. And, people that didn't like Aaron Taylor Johnson, hey, he dies, so you don't get to see him in Civil War. Scarlet Witch, the fact that she can manipulate people's minds and that can make things flow. She has telekinesis. Her telekinetic powers are awesome. When she loses Quicksilver, when he dies, she feels it and she's like, ah! Elizabeth Olsen was fantastic here. I think that she has just as much talent as her sisters Mary-Kate and Ashley. And the fact that she looks different from them and she's younger, she has a great career ahead of her. I love her in this movie. Her accent I thought was very cute. The fact that she takes Ultron's heart out in one of the machines, she's like, She takes his heart out, and she's like, now you know what it feels like, and that was awesome. Subtle, didn't have to beat it over my head. That's what I love about these movies. Unlike in Nolan's Batman films, which I don't hate, but some of the themes have to be beaten over your head, and I'm like, we get it. It's dark. It's realistic. We're trying to keep this in realism. These films don't try to be dark and realistic. They get dark when as soon as Ultron appears, you know that shit's gonna go down, and it does go down. Especially all the destruction he makes. The destruction in this movie is well received. It's not like, oh my god, this is disaster porn like Man of Steel. No, the Hulkbuster scene, I'm gonna get to that because it's gonna be random. I'm gonna talk about this movie because I love this movie. I gush about this film. I'm gonna buy this movie. I'm gonna see it like 100 times on Blu-ray, and just this is the kind of movie I want to see in the theater. Am I gonna see Jurassic World later this year? Yes. It beat all Avengers just by that much, but Avengers 1 and 2 are better. I know. Hulkbuster scene, the scene where they go to T'Challa's hometown, which is they go to Africa. It's where T'Challa, who's Black Panther, who will be in the future Avengers movie, they're going to introduce him. It's the actor from 42. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I think it's Chadwick Boseman or something like that. Yeah, I don't really know his name, but I'm looking forward to that. This scene stole the movie. You see, Hulk is being manipulated by Scarlet Witch. He's really pissed. He got these red eyes, and him and Hulk and the Hulkbuster are fighting each other. It's like, and they're fighting, and they're crashing into everything. But the people are the priority. They don't want to destroy each other and kill people at the same time. And I love the scene where Hulk is pinned down, and the Hulkbuster's punching him in the face constantly. And it's not like the Universal Soldier regeneration. This is done in a comedic way that works. He's like, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep, go to sleep. I was just laughing hysterically. It was so entertaining. And they're destroying cars and buildings, and they're going through everything. It's just crazy. It's just insane. The action sequences are insane in this movie, and I love every single one of them. Just the Hulkbuster scene, wow. And then when Hulk is like smashing him on a building, is like just wow. Amazing visual effects. It doesn't look like a cartoon. It looks awesome. And just, the fact that this scene made it in the movie and it wasn't a lie, they showed it in the trailer, it's in the movie. It's short. It's like 2 or 3 minutes. It's not like 10 minutes, but it's memorable. And I loved every bit of imagery on the screen. And wow, just amazing. Just one of the best suits I've seen Iron Man wear. And just, it was amazing. I didn't talk about Thor. Chris Hemsworth is still awesome in the movie. He made me laugh a lot in the movie. His sense of humor was unparalleled. You all are not worthy. And I love that scene, when they're trying to pull the hammer. Just, he's still a badass. There's a scene that he disappears, and, once they get to the farm where Hawkeye's family is, he goes into like this pool, and he's shirtless, and he's seeing visions. Basically, it's a setup for Ragnarok. Yeah, there's a lot of setup pieces for the future films, but didn't bother me that much. I mean, yeah, if you had cut that scene out, or if it was a deleted scene, it would have been, less obvious. But, it is what it is. There's a scene where Ultron meets up with this, with Claw, I think his name is, or Claw, played by Andy Serkis, who I love this actor. He's just a great Gollum. His voice, my process. I love this actor is just phenomenal. I didn't see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or Rise of the Planet of the Apes, but I bet his performance is good. He's just a really good actor. And the fact that I had to see him here and not motion captured, he had this beard, and there's a scene that he's trying to offer candy to Black Widow. I mean, not Black Widow, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. And, he has a sense of humor. He's barely in the film, but when he's there, he made me laugh. And there's a scene where Ultron just cuts his freaking arm off. And I was like, wow, they got away with that in a PG-13 movie. And it looked awesome. It's like, he's like, oh yeah? And he's like, ugh! And Andy Serkis' arm is missing. And I was like, wow, they actually went there. And they didn't cut it out because of the PG-13. You can do a lot with a PG-13 rating, especially now. Remember, that's not a rating for children. It's for teenagers, young adults, and for older adults. So if your kids are not strong enough to handle violence and blood and and even insane action sequences that are so over the top, and but they're worth it. Make sure you wait until they're older to see this. But I loved it. I felt like a kid, and just wow, amazing. There's other Easter eggs in the film. You have Maria Hill's in the movie again. I didn't remember what she did that much. Nick Fury's in the movie, of course, because you can't have a Avengers movie without him. There's a lot of things that happen in the movie, but just wow, 2 hours and 21 minutes didn't bother me at all. It didn't feel like it took forever to get going. Ultron's plan, I don't think is that bad. They're like, oh, I wanna save humanity from themselves by destroying it and make it my own world. Interesting. It's like Transformers 3, but done right. It doesn't have the stupid humor that Aaron Kruger and writes in the scripts and Michael Bay directs. This did it better. It's not freaking 2.5 hours of just talking. It goes, and even the conversations in this movie are great. When they blame Tony Stark for building Ultron and Thor grabs him and puts him up, he's like, "You did this. You created this monster," but it's well acted. Every performance in this movie is just great. I love every single one of them. Just the fact that the movie, it's a sequel that I think is just as fun as the first one. Yes, the first one is the superior film because you have that first time you see them in the circle was just amazing, and the fact that you got to see this for you see an Avengers origin story done right, and Whedon knocked it out of the park, and he did with this one too. And I'm going to keep on talking. Whoa, there's a bug there. Anyway, what else can I say about this movie besides being gushing? There are some problems. There are some things that are rushed. Ultron's storyline, even though it is rushed and it didn't bother me at first. Hopefully, in the extended cut, they show more of how he became Ultron and things like that. Also, there's no post-credit scene at the end. I know that sounds like a weird nitpick, but there's only one scene at the end credits, and that's when they show it says directed by Joss Whedon, and then they show a statue of all the Avengers, and then you see Thanos for like a couple seconds, and he grabs the Infinity Gauntlet, and he's like, "I'll take care of this myself." Awesome scene is setting up for the Infinity War, which I can't wait for in Phase 3. Phase 3 starts in July when Ant-Man comes out. Should Ant-Man have been in this movie? Maybe, but the movie was already, crowded. So I think, it's best that he wasn't in the film. Another problem with the film, I don't really know that much. Besides those two nitpicks, I don't really have any major problems. Like there weren't any foreign languages in the movie that took me out of the film, or a stupid scene like in Transformers where, there's just awkward humor. No, the humor works well here. There were some characters, Von Strucker should have been in the movie a little bit more. I mean, the way they don't show how he dies when Ultron kills him is like, wait, that happened already? I'm like, yeah, that scene, they should have explained it or show him killing Von Strucker. Because I thought he was going to be like a secondary villain and do more. When he's there, I think that the actor does fine as Wolfgang Von Strucker. He's not really that important. They wanted Ultron to be the main focus, and I like that. But other than that, I don't really have any more cons. I don't think the acting's bad. I think the writing is very strong, just like the first movie. The directing is fine. The action is there. When it's there, it's amazing, and I love every second of it. And I don't think this is a mediocre sequel. You haters that just want to hate it just because it made a lot of money. It's getting the pass, and these characters are fun to watch. People pay to see these characters because they're fun to watch. They're not sitting there watching a drama. I didn't want this to be a drama. The dramatic moments work in the movie. Hawkeye's family and the thing with the scenes with Hulk and Black Widow saying that I can't have kids, and then he's like, I can't have kids either. The connection, they found common ground that works. It's not forced down your throat. When Quicksilver dies at the end, the audience gasped when I saw that, and I was like, yeah, they actually killed a character. Hawkeye was protecting this kid at the end, where when Ultron is rising this freaking city into the air, and then he wants to drop it. That's emotional when you see, the Avengers actually care about these people that they're protecting, that they're avenging against Ultron. You care about them. They're not just there to, we're just going to save, we're just looking out for ourselves. No, they put themselves first in front of people before they have to think of the others before themselves, and I love that. That's what makes them an awesome team. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Hawkeye is protecting this kid from Ultron's blast. Ultron is not. He's no pushover. He's flying this freaking thing and he's shooting the Avengers and he actually kills Quicksilver. And then he's like, "You did not see that coming," and he falls. And you feel that, even whether you care about the actor or not, that's a ballsy move that Marvel made. The fact that we got that a character that is expendable, but it worked. And when Scarlet Witch gets pissed off because after she sees her brother, her brother is killed and she feels it, then she's like blasting everything in her way. It's awesome. Elizabeth Olsen's face says it all. She's like, phew, 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 phew. Just amazing. Just wow. And the looks of these characters didn't bother me either. That they looked a lot different from the comics. Hey, it's not the way they look. It's how as if they nailed the character right. And I think they did. Every single one of them. The "I Got No Strings to Hold Me Down" song that they played, that's basically Disney's contribution to the film, which I'm glad that they put it because, I love Pinocchio, and when they played that song, and it was like, "I got no strings to hold me down. I have strings, but now I'm free. There are no strings on me." That was fun. I was like, wow, that's a nice throwback to the 40s film done by Disney. And, it didn't bother me. Just, the fact that Disney distributed these films is just amazing. And they've done a great job promoting these films so that they make a lot of money. And believe me, when the Blu-ray comes out, I'm going to be the first in line to get the Steelbook because I want this in my collection. I want to see every bit of it again and again and again. Wow, 31 minutes I've already talked. Anyway, back to the film. There's some scenes that there's talking, but it wasn't like overly dramatic, like, oh my god, everybody's crying and I feel depressed. The scene where Tony Stark sees the Avengers in a vision that, they all die and it's his fault and he's like the only one there. It's interesting because, it's an image that it would have bothered me if it really did happen. But, it was, it's not a film that beats, it's not a kid's film. It tries to be more serious, but have fun at the same time, that's why Captain Winter Soldier worked. And that's why Guardians of the Galaxy worked, and that's why this worked. That's why the movie's made over $400 million in less than a month. And it's going to make even more. Trust me. Anyway, the storyline it flows very well. It doesn't feel like, oh my god, when is the scene going to be over so we can get to the action? It's plentiful. It's not like there's only 2 action scenes in the movie. It's not like Amazing Spider-Man 2 where they could have improved on the first film and they didn't. They made it boring. And I don't care about the lead, so it's a problem for me. And the villains are underused and they suck. This villain does not suck. Ultron. He doesn't. Right behind me. James Spader's voice stole the show, and he was amazing. And he wasn't a joke like Bane's voice in The Dark Knight Rises. We're like, "Oh, the Gotham is yours." And I'm like, it made me laugh. And really, a villain shouldn't make me laugh too much because then it becomes a comedy. Anyway, I love this movie. I don't know what else I can say. I'm trying to talk for an hour, but I don't know if I can do it. But it's an in-depth review of the Avengers 2. I think this movie deserves all the praise it got, all the box office, all the merchandise that's being sold. The fact that the Blu-ray is going to have an extended cut with even more content for me to dig my fingers into and just, wow. It's going to be even longer. It's not going to be just a minute long. It's probably going to be like 30 minutes longer. And I want to see an extended cut of this because the theatrical cut, it was good enough for me to enjoy, and I loved watching this in the theater. This is a movie I paid $16 for and got him. And it was worth it. It was worth every single penny. I saw it in 2D. I didn't see the 3D version because I don't want 3D glasses for 2 hours. It just hurts my eyes and gives me a headache. And, the fact that we got a sequel, people should stop being ingrateful. Age of Ultron was made by the same director, and he wrote the film as well, and he gave us an entertaining sequel, and I couldn't have asked for anything better. Yes, there could have been more scenes fleshed out and more scenes added in, and they, maybe edit a couple of things, but was this entertaining? Hell yes. And I would advise anybody that's a fan of Marvel films, see this movie. Please, I'm begging you. I love this movie and I want to support it any way I can. Buy as much merchandise as I can because I feel like a 12-year-old boy again watching these movies in the theater. Just, wow. The fact that it's, made so much and is, it didn't deserve on Rotten Tomatoes, it got around a 75%, 74%. Good, but I think it could be a little bit higher. I don't think it's a mediocre sequel. It lived up to my expectations. And the fact that I waited 3 years for it proves that I was patient enough to bide my time. And when it came out and I saw it, I loved it. And I think it's just as much of a modern day classic of cinema, just like the original. And it's basically, if the next two films are awesome, it'll be like the Star Wars of comic book movies, that I don't hate any of them, and I loved every single one of them. And the fact that the film was a mainstream film that didn't suck, and it's not commercial trash, and I don't think it's overhyped. Wow, that's a freaking surprise. And the fact that the Avengers are front and center, they're not pushed to the sidelines, and they kick ass, and there's a lot of action, and the movie is fun. That's what I wanted from a film. Was this film fun? Yes. Oh, here's a picture of Thor. Yeah, Chris Hemsworth. He's having the time of his life. This was an unknown actor in the 2000s doing Australian television, and he became one of the most iconic Avengers in the series. And with his limited screen time, I think he has about 11 minutes of screen time compared to the first film. He makes the most of it. The hammer is still badass, and it still destroys things, and he can still fly, and Chris Hemsworth's commanding voice is still awesome in this. And there's some things I want to leave out because I don't want to spoil everything. There's some things in the movie that I want people to see for themselves. This is a film you got to see to believe because it is worth every second of your time. And, well, I don't have any water, so I'm going to end it here. I went in depth as much as I could, why I love this movie. There's some cons, a few things could have been added, but I don't think it's a bad sequel. This is not Speed 2. This is not RoboCop 3. This is not Transformers 4. This is not Expendables 3. This is not a sequel that shits on the first film. It knows what it is. It took what I loved in the first film and amplified it by 11, and I still got the same characters doing their thing, and I loved it, and I loved it. And Whedon, thank you for giving us these films. Thank you. I cannot say that anymore if I tried. You gave us a first movie that blew my mind. This one just blew my mind as well. And I love the film. I don't think the film is as bad as some people making it out to be. They're like, this movie's mediocre. It can't measure up to the first film. I think it does. It's amazing. It's PG-13. It takes a lot of risks. It managed to put a lot of people that I actually care about in the film. And it's what I want to see in my movies nowadays. I'm tired of remakes. I'm tired of reboots that are not needed. I don't care about a Big Trouble in Little China reboot. It's not needed. We need this. We need more films that do well at the box office that are actually good movies. They're not just commercial trash. They're not something pumped out every year to make a quick buck. This knew it was going to break records. It knew that the fans were going to come back and see it and enjoy themselves. It knew that it can't please everybody because no film can. Even Star Wars, there's a lot of haters of that. But I love it. And I will never, ever apologize for, defending something that I love to death. Because I love these films. I love the first Avengers. Love this one. Love the Marvel movies that led up to it. I'm probably gonna really love Ant-Man. Because he's a character that gets shit on. And I think he's a character that's going to surprise a lot of people this summer. I can't wait to see Civil War next year. Black Panther. The Inhumans. Thor Ragnarok. Spider-Man, I have some reservations because they haven't casted him yet, and Sony and Marvel are up in arms to see who should be casted. I don't want Aja Butterfield. I want either Logan Lerman or somebody like him that can do it and is American. You don't have to be a 30-year-old guy. Just get somebody that doesn't look too thin or too young, like that looks 14. And Butterfield, I don't think, good actor. I don't think he's Spider-Man, though. And, it's going to be hard for anybody, even if he's a good actor, to measure up to the people in this film. This was a perfectly casted sequel. I don't think you could have gotten any better than this. The first film got the cast right, and this one did too. You know, it's not like, oh, I wish this actor played, Hulk or Thor or Cap or Black Widow or Scarlet Witch or Quicksilver or Hawkeye, better. I'm fine with this cast. They really make me care about these characters. They care about the performances they're giving. They gave it their all and then some, and it shows on screen. And the fact that this movie was the first movie to come out in May, and it blew every other movie out of the water. A lot of people are giving this, saying, "Oh, Mad Max Fury Road is better." Mad Max Fury Road may have off some action sequences, but get this: if I don't care for the characters, the film's gonna be a problem for me. So I will see that movie one day, but even if I enjoy it, it's not gonna beat this or Star Wars when that comes out in December, which I'm going to see. Anyway, guys, I've talked for 40 minutes. I gushed about this film, and I'm glad I did. I wanted to, do this because for my fans out there that love me talking about Marvel films, I think this is a cinematic masterpiece, just like the first one. And I'm not just saying that because of my name. The first movie gave me a purpose to be on YouTube and be John Avenger here for the last 2 years. And, just a lot of fun. I love these movies. I'm glad Marvel actually did this right. And Kevin Feige, I pretty much blame you because you're the producer of these films. You know you're going to get your money. Don't cut these films just to fit them in the theater. If you had made this movie, if this movie was 3 hours, I would have sat through the entire thing, just like I did with the Lord of the Rings extended cuts. Because I will see a long movie as long as the movie's worth seeing. If it's too long, like Interstellar, I loved it, but I thought it was too long, especially the third act. Make a movie long that deserves it. Don't make it long just for the sake of making it long with padding. This didn't have any padding to me. The scenes that were slow were just like a little entree, were like the appetizer to the entree, which we got later in the film. And I absolutely love this movie. I just think it's one of the best sequels I've ever seen in the theater or anywhere else. And take it for what you will. This is all I'm showing until I get the Blu-ray, because I will show that by September or October. I love this movie. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm just saying that out of nostalgia. No, these characters appeal to me, and this is the way you do it right. And this is the real Transformers movie. All the drones that Ultron has in this film they look freaking awesome, and they destroy things. And even though they're just drones and they all look alike, they left more of an impact on me than Michael Bay's Bayformers, and that's sad because, I enjoyed those in the theater, but they didn't hold up well when I saw them at home. And now, after the fourth one, I don't want to check out 5. This makes me want to see more. And when you do it right, you will get my money, and I will not complain about it. I'm not going to nitpick the movie. I'm here to trash the movie. No. There's a lot of good in this movie, and I saw it in these little eyes of mine. And I will see more when the extended cut comes out. So that's it. I'm gonna stop it here because I think I talked enough about Age of Ultron. I love this movie. It's one of the best films I've seen this year. This and SpongeBob, Sponge Out of Water, which I really enjoyed as well. Not as much as this, but I still laughed and I had a good time. But that's my review for the Avengers: Age of Ultron. Love this movie. Have no major problems with it. Flows well, and it's a worthy sequel to that masterpiece right there. So, thanks, guys, for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing and leaving your comments. Remember, no trolls, because if you're not a fan of the film, that's fine. I'm not going to say you're an idiot. I won't get it, though, because I love this movie, and I don't see it in the same eyes as you. But, hey, people that do love it, more power to you as well, because, it's all about preference. And when I love something, I say it on camera and I let the whole world know about it. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys.